This is Matt for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined for the first time in a while, I think. Savage Dan, we're here in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Huge rematch, but we know who you're here for. You're here for your boy, boxers Ben Whittaker, one of the potential megastars in world boxing. I think everyone's sort of touting him for. We'll start with Ben. I think it's only fair we do that. How pleased were you with his debut, and what a stage this is for him to show his thing, by the way?
Do you know what? I said it to him the day, I think it might have been on the day earlier on the Saturday. I said to him, you know, you've put so much pressure on your shoulders, you have to produce now. It was just, it was like water off a duck's back to him. It was like, bro, he is so nonchalant about it. It is very, very normal for him to steal the show. I think that's just been who he is and what he is, you know, throughout his whole amateur career. Super, super skillful, super talented. And then to finish it like that as well, honestly, it's just, I haven't seen a debut like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say in a long time, but I don't actually think I've seen a debut like that.
Ben sort of, for me, is going to be a bit Marmite. He's polarizing, and I think that must be the angle. And the reason I say that is, for me, he's my cup of tea. I love all that stuff. I live for that stuff. When the money's raining down, I'm like, you know what? I like it because I get it, and I see his personality shining through. And he's a nice kid, great to speak to. But people will look at that and think, flash fucker. He's what? That was before he had his first professional fight. So he's going to rub people up. But is this what makes? If it is him as him anyway, if that's genuinely him, is this the type of character that makes a pay-per-view star?
Yeah, I would say Marmite is probably too nice a description. People like Marmite, and I think half and half of people like Marmite. Yeah. He'll rub the majority of people up the wrong way. Yeah. But I think it's worth so much. It doesn't matter. All you've got to do is produce. You know, you can be a star by being loved. But you can actually become a bigger star, a superstar, by having as many people hate you and root for you to lose and want to tune in. You become pretty much a real-life pantomime villain. Yeah. You know, and anyone who bumps into him in the street or has a conversation with him will instantly like him. Yeah. But if you just see him, a clip of him, what he says, and how he doesn't care about where he is or who is around to say it, you will think, who is this guy? Why he's too big for his boots, and naturally you start to think, I want to see him lose.
Absolutely. What do you make of his nickname? Now, I didn't think he'd go with the Surgeon. I was thinking, because he was, I can't remember what his thing was. He was saying new money, and I thought, well, he might not go for that because it's kind of like a Floyd thing. I think when new money is like, is Floyd the old money, and then Benzo, and I'm like, I wonder where he's going to go with. What do you think of the Surgeon?
I like it. I proper like the Surgeon. I've not heard it. I don't think anyone's ever had it. Has anyone had it?
That's what I mean. I think that's good from a unique standpoint, because I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Bottom line, he puts on a clinic. Yeah. He's surgical with how he picks his shots. Like it makes sense, you know. And even how, you know, he was never really renowned for big power, but the way he stopped his man in his debut, lets you know there's power in there, and he's only young. He's going to grow into it. He's got long levers, and he's with Sugar Hill, which means sooner or later you're going to turn into an absolute puncher. Like, regardless of whether you like it or not, he is going to be a puncher. Yeah. So it's a nightmare for anyone to fight.
Yeah, when you've got that, implement that Kronk style along with his natural ability, he could be an absolute wrecking ball in, you know, now and in a few years to come. Let's jump on to the no. Before we do that, you're here for Boxer, Sky's representative. Ben Shalom, is he coming on this trip? I've not seen him. I heard he was coming early. He's not now. What's the crack?
Ben won't be here. No? He won't be here. Do you know what? I'll tell you the good thing about Ben. This is why I love Ben. Ben, it's not about ego. Yeah. It's not about being everywhere. He actually just wants to get the job done. So, for example, he has played a huge part in even getting this bill on Sky. Yeah. A huge part. You know, he's obviously then in part played a huge role in getting Ben Whittaker on this bill, because it's complicated. There's so many moving parts to it that you would think, I mean, if it's anyone else, it doesn't happen, if I'm totally honest. But Ben wants to put the fighter's interest first, you know, and he wants to make sure that it's good for their profile, it's good for their brand. It's not necessarily all about him. He's basically made it so that this fight is on Sky and that Ben is on this card. And he's not even here. He's really always down to business. Even, you know, the Joseph Parker versus Joe Joyce, stuff like that. He's willing to work with people and work things out and swallow his pride if he has to, and just make things work for the good of the fans and for the good of the fighters. Yeah. So I actually think it's endearing. I would love him to be here, but I think it says a lot that he's not, because he doesn't have to be everywhere. He doesn't have to be, in the public eye trying to steal the limelight. He just wants to get the job done. He is knee deep in contracts all the time. Gets things over the line. He does so much good work that he can have this weekend off.
Yeah, big weekend to have off if you don't want to come see Usyk, AJ. But I get you what you're saying, especially from the business side of things. I'm sure he's got a lot of moving parts going on that we don't know about as well.
Listen, it's meticulous, I see it on a surface level. But what he has to deal with is essentially 3 people's jobs in one, and he has to be here, there, and everywhere and think about so many different things. I just like the fact that boxers are willing and wanting to work with everyone where possible, if it works for the fighter and for the brand and for the fans, and if people scream for fight, enough of these cold wars, it doesn't make enough sense.
I think that's what we need in boxing now. Everyone no one's always going to get on because they've always got business number one in hand. But because this week it's been a bit like, obviously Sky got the rights to this fight, and it seems like obviously they pulled out all the stops to get this fight, and obviously Eddie's here, and I think I heard Eddie reference that Sky were having a meeting whether they were going to interview him or not, to which he was obviously laughing, and he thought that was quite a funny thing to have. Is there any of this animosity, or is there any sort of, I don't know, uncomfortable situation? He's also referenced Johnny Nelson, calling him a company man. They worked together long enough, but it's one of them things. I think he feels that there's this sort of, I don't know, wall, or there's a relationship problem since the split.
Oh, look, there's always going to be a slight bit of frostiness. You can probably feel it. I've just got here this morning, but it doesn't take an Einstein to realise that there probably would be, but I don't think it's anything on Sky's part. Sky have always been with AJ and always supported him, and now they've won the bid for him to fight Usyk in the rematch again. And when it's all said and done, Eddie left Sky. Sky didn't leave Eddie. So if there is a frostiness, probably doesn't make sense that it would come from Eddie, because he left and went on to do whatever he wanted to do with DAZN. Sky were kind of left there, with looking at their hands thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We've got nothing, and luckily Boxer have popped up and we've done incredible things in the first year. When you consider that the first year is going to be the most challenging, the worst financially. It's the first year is the hardest year of any business.
Well, just look at that February month,
mate. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous what we did. So look, I don't think there should be. There's always going to be a little bit of animosity. I don't think it's competition, but I think everyone's still pulling in the same direction. Sky have won it. They're supporting it. They're supporting AJ, and I just think everyone needs to get on the same page. I know people are trying, but unfortunately this weekend everyone has to work together. And this is what we've been trying to do at Boxer in particular. We're trying to work with people. We don't need bad vibes. We don't need animosity and frostiness all over the place, because it makes business difficult.
So if Boxer have a fighter that it benefits him to go fight on DAZN, for example, if there's an opportunity, and obviously this I suppose is going to be put to Eddie, because I think he's done it before where a fighter's gone on to a different show. Would that be something that you think Boxer would consider, as long as it benefits the fighter and them?
It's probably a question for Ben, but if you look at his track record, it would suggest that yes, if it is beneficial for his fighter to fight somewhere else, and contractually you can get it done, then Ben wants to do what's best for the fighters. I'll be honest, there isn't a better place to fight than Sky. If you're asking me, there isn't. The amount of eyes on you, all of that, like the proof's in the pudding. There isn't a better place to fight. But would you do it? Of course, because as a promoter, as a manager, as anything, you're supposed to have the fighter's best interests at heart. You're meant to grow the fighter. And if the fans are calling for a fight and the fight is on a different network and whatever it is, then whoever it has to be should be trying to make something happen. If you can't make it happen and you tried, fine.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of doors getting shut.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics in boxing has been not ruining the sport, but it delays a lot of big fights and stuff when you look for years.
What we've done is in 1 year, we worked with Wasserman.
Yeah.
With Eubank. Ben's done a deal with Top Rank. We've done a deal with Queensbury now for Joyce and Parker. He's not scared to work with people. He wants to work with people. He wants to make the best fights. I think it's refreshing. I really do.
100%. Let's talk about the big fight, because I want to get your breakdown of it. Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua. As time gets closer, you sort of see the moods change of both fighters from obviously when they first come, the open workout. We're going to see a weigh-in tomorrow. How do you see this fight going? A lot of people in the UK online seem to be backing Usyk, which I find, if he's your favourite fighter, I get it to a degree, but I don't understand sometimes the criticism that sometimes it's labelled at Anthony Joshua. What's your take on the fight and what I've just mentioned there?
I think you're right. I can't tell what it is, whether it's like I don't know, is it a British thing? Because I can't imagine that there'll be many Ukrainians wanting Usyk to lose.
Is it because obviously we've had Tyson Fury come back off this long layoff, and he is very, how can I put this without sort of swearing? He does not care one iota about what he says. He will say whatever comes off his chest. Whereas I think AJ for years, probably from the machine, what is Sky Sports as well as Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, I think, is it because they see him as either media trained or someone who's been, or is this it? Is that the reason? Do you think?
I mean, look, bottom line, AJ doesn't really put a foot wrong in anything that he says. You know, he's always saying the right thing. I don't understand how people can hate him for it or hate on him for it. Tyson Fury is Marmite-ish because he'll say some things that will get him in trouble, but then he'll also double down, dig his heels in and be like, I don't care, and some people respect it and like that. The problem is the UK is kind of split because you're either AJ or you're Fury.
Yeah, you can't really be both, can you?
You can't really be both. But in a fight like this, I think you should be getting behind Anthony Joshua. You know, I'm backing him. I want him to win. I've known AJ for a while. I like him. People who don't like him, I don't understand how they don't. You know, he's a very tough person to not like. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't do anything to upset or annoy anybody. You know, he's just such a good guy. Having said that, being a good guy doesn't win you fights, and he's got probably the most technical fighter he could be in front of in Usyk.
More technical than Fury?
I would say so. I would say him being a southpaw and the way he moves his feet. A lot of Usyk's technicality is also like awkwardness. Yeah. He's 6'9". He's very hard to get to.
Usyk's not 6'9", is it?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I'm saying Fury. I think he's really awkward to fight.
Yeah.
I think Usyk is more technical. He's actually smaller than loads of people he fights, and he's got that. He's excellent. He is. I'm not sure how I see the fight going. It changes every night when I go to sleep. Yeah. I don't think we see the final bell.
A lot of people have said that. They're not giving me answer saying over in 6 either way. That kind of attitude.
I don't think it's over in 6. I do think there's something that will happen in the middle. I'm interested to see. I'll know more after 30 seconds of the first round. I would like to see AJ step on the gas, but I think that is, from the outside looking in, that's obviously what you do. But I think Usyk's got enough pop in him to stop people just racing forward at him. Yeah. Otherwise, everyone would have done it.
Yeah, I think when we looked at that first game plan, obviously AJ admits himself, and I think from the outside looking in, he got it wrong. But there was also, and Usyk's face was marked up. People forget that AJ lit him up a few times in the fight, but there must have been enough coming back to say, hang on, I'm trading with this guy a little bit, but I'm getting caught. There was a moment in the 12th AJ's on the ropes, and Usyk's even said, I think prior, that he did step back. If that fight had gone a minute longer, would AJ survive the final bell? Who knows? So it has so many variables. But how big an achievement would this be for Anthony Joshua to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, avenge his loss against Ruiz, avenge against a pound-for-pound great in Usyk, and then that sets up what will be unbelievable, undisputed.
Look at the greatest Ali He avenged all his losses, if I remember correctly. I think it would be absolutely huge if he can do it. It's a big ask. It is a big ask. He understands that. They've talked a lot about mindset and I think people are obviously making a lot of it, but I think that is half of it. Like, you've got to be willing against Usyk to kind of go through the fire, because you're gonna get pinged a couple of times on the way in, but you're gonna have to almost ignore it and be like, just fuck off, just get off me, and you're gonna have to find a way to step on him, and do it carefully. Almost, that's the thing. It's so delicate, you know. You rush in too fast, you wake up in the dressing room, and it's tough because you want to fight the person in front of you, but you're in there. You know, we're outside the ring. It doesn't matter how close you are. It doesn't matter. You're not them two. You can't feel. You can't feel what they're both feeling. They can almost both feel spiritually what each other are going through. So AJ will know when he can step on the gas, but he'll also know when he can't. And it might to the outside look like he can, but it's just not ripe yet.
You mentioned there, I think what's key in this is the balance, because notoriously, whatever it is, he's obviously an unbelievable athlete, he's Anthony Joshua, but around 6-7 rounds, you can see the gas tank get a bit slower. Then he has a second win between 10, 11, 12. How important is it, the first 6 rounds of this fight, that if Usyk isn't out of there in 6, that he manages the fight in a certain way?
You know what? I think that might have been part of his thinking in the first fight. Knowing that Usyk is... like, he's got really good mental stamina, so even if he's tired, he can still do the same things that he was doing in round 2. AJ's more muscle bound, doesn't have the same schooling that Usyk has, where Usyk can almost do a lot of that stuff on autopilot. I think it's super important that AJ manages this fight in terms of his energy and because he knows Usyk will be pretty stable all the way through. He'll likely keep that same tempo unless you take some of the gas out of him, which is why I think he'll go to the body.
It's going to be an interesting fight. Look, Dan, thanks for giving me some of your time today. It's always a pleasure catching up. We found out you're a man of many talents today. You got your little music studio, you got a lot of things going on. We'll have a further catch up hopefully later on this week and maybe get your reaction to the fight when it's happened, see if it plays out the way we think it may do. But thanks for giving Into Boxing some of your time, bro.
Thanks, bro.